Hi, I'm Aaron Marcus, and welcome back to the Acting and Modeling Success Summit. We have Rachel Seeker with us today, and Rachel has done a whole lot of things in the industry. So let me share some of those things with you right now. First of all, she's very smart. She graduated magna cum laude with a BSBA in marketing and management. And after working in a variety of industries, she decided to pursue acting and modeling. And she's had tremendous success as a fitness, lifestyle, and swimsuit model. And Rachel's worked on various movie sets, music videos, commercials, and also just had a starring role. You've probably seen her on the new VH1 reality show, Making Mr. Right. So, Rachel, welcome to the summit.
Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate that.
So, look, there are so many people who watch lots of reality shows, and probably the number one question that people have is, how in the world did you ever get onto one? Like, what's the trick, or more so, what was the process that you went on, that you went through to get to Making Mr. Right?
It was actually a long process. I knew the casting company. I'd worked with them before, and they contacted me actually for this part. They wanted three very different women, and one of those women that they were looking for was somebody who was very independent, somebody with a strong personality. And I, on my off time, ride motorcycles and work construction. So they figured that that would fit in wonderfully with what they were trying to go with my character on the show. So we did many Skyping interviews, just like we're doing now. And after Skype interview, we did a pilot for the show, and we put that together. They sold it to VH1, and it was
Well,
actually
wait a second.
quite a long process.
I got to back you up for a second here, just because I mean you went not to say that you made it sound easy, but there were so many things that had to happen for you in order for this to take place. So the very first thing was, so you had already worked with the casting company that produced the show?
Yes, I'd been in contact with them. I knew a few people there. I'd done interviews with them on other projects before. So I got to know them. They were actually taking people in for a different reality show a while back, and I was interested in trying out for it, and then I ended up deciding it wasn't the right show for me. And they still had me in their bank of people, and they contacted me for this part. I did get lucky. It's not. I don't think it's common that they'll normally call people about being on a reality show. It was a national casting, so I know that a lot of people did try out for it. And even though they did contact me for it, I still had to go through a long process of Skyping interviews, and they flew me back and forth for a couple of interviews, and there were
So
still
are
other
they?
people. But
I'm sorry. I hate to interrupt, but there's so many other things that I wanted to ask around that. So is this company based in California?
yes, yes,
Okay,
it was Cornwall casting.
so they did a national search. So they were traveling around the country finding people. And so now, because you live in the Northeast, so they already knew about you. So they gave you very specific details as to what they were looking for, or did they just know who you were and then just talk to you?
A little bit of both. I got a phone call, and on my voicemail, it was a girl saying, "Hey, look, we're doing a show where we need women who are not afraid to tell guys what they're doing wrong on dates. We need someone who's going to be a wing woman for guys." And now keep in mind, this was a show within a show, so they couldn't really, before doing the pilot, before having me sign a bunch of forms, tell us exactly the show that we were going to be on. So originally, I didn't even know this was going to be a dating show for me. I thought that this was going to be a dating show for the guys that were going to be on it. However, yep, it was a national casting, and just because they called me didn't mean that they were saying, all right, we've got Rachel for this part for sure. I still had to go through a long process of Skyping interviews, a bunch of different questionnaires that I had to fill out, and I was still going up against other people that were running for it. So they weren't sold on me right away. They just had me in their bank of people and were like, I think this is a good candidate for it. We'll
So
still keep casting for this part.
So like when you said you did a number of Skype interviews, just to get a general idea so people have some sense of what takes place. Let's say you are the casting person and I'm the person who is trying to get on this reality show. So you call me. What kind of questions would you be asking me?
A lot of different questions from, is your schedule flexible? What do you look for in a guy? Now, pertaining to the show that I was going to be on, what is it that you're looking for in a guy?
And so what do you say? What do you say to that?
I tell them exactly the truth. As far as me and my schedule at the time, it was one of those things where I had a very flexible schedule and I was able to, change things around if need be. So you definitely let them know that you're willing and able to do whatever it is and whenever they want it done, that you're able to do that. Otherwise, they'll find somebody else, because this business is a very, drop what you're doing and last minute kind of thing.
And and do they give you any kind of sense as to how long of a time commitment you're going to have to make?
No, they actually didn't tell me a whole lot to do with it. It was kind of Skype interview to Skype interview at first. It was like, hey, we need you to Skype with us today at such and such o'clock. And at the time, I was working pretty much full time, but I was able to bend my schedule as need be because my boss is my sister. She runs a construction company. I was working for her. So it was a thing where I would have to stop working for her, run home, change, get ready. You want to look good on your Skype interviews with any kind of casting company because they're recording it. And yeah, do a Skyping interview then, and then it was kind of like a need to know basis. They would tell
Okay.
me what they needed for that Skyping interview, and then it was, you wait till you hear from them again.
Okay, so some of the interviews they were making sure that you were, well, I guess one of the things they might not even said to you, just the fact that you were responsible enough to be there at the right time when they needed you, and to show that you're somebody they could depend on, because there's a lot of money involved in this. They want to make sure they're not dealing with somebody who's flaky, somebody who's irresponsible. So they might not even have asked that, but it might have been some of the things that they were observing. Okay, so then they asked you, because you knew at least at the beginning it had something to do with dating, finding Mr. Right. So they would ask you questions about, what do you look for in a guy? Now, did you ever have any thoughts of, you know, what I'm really looking for probably doesn't matter, but this is what I think they might be looking for? Or did you not even go in those terms and just decided, nah, I'm just going to flat out tell them very specifically, who I am. This is what I'm looking for in a guy.
I was 100% honest. Because it's a reality show, I wanted it to be real. I didn't, like I said, it was a show within a show, and I didn't know exactly what angle they were trying to take. So when they would ask me questions on what I like in a guy, I didn't really put quite the two and two together and figure out that this was a dating show for me. They didn't tell us originally this is a show within a show. They just said, hey, you're going to be a wing woman for guys. What is it that you like in guys? What is it that irritates you with guys? And I told them, exactly what it was that I thought. So
So basically, because sometimes, and it's interesting, and I respect the way you did that. I know sometimes when actors are auditioning for a role, sometimes what they'll do is they try to think, well, I wonder what the casting director needs for this. I wonder what the director is looking for, instead of you just making a decision as to what you think is right. And so the way you did it, apparently it worked, because you booked the job. So I'm just kind of curious. So like, what are some of the other things that would be asked of you during these interviews?
they would hold up a series of pictures of guys, and they would say, all right, now tell me what's wrong with what this guy's wearing, or tell me your thoughts on this. And I would just have to either, tear them apart, kind of, or say the good things, or just give them my thoughts, pretty much. And I totally understand what you're saying, and I can agree that people do bend the way their answers would be for interviews based on what it is that they were doing. And to be honest with you, I normally would, but this was, being a reality show, and being that I have strong opinions on various things when it comes to dating, I figured it would probably be best to just 100% tell them my exact thoughts, and see where that got me. So it was kind of a different approach doing this than I normally would do for other gigs.
Yeah, but actually, even with the other gigs, though, I mean, still, it's your decision as to what you think is right, for the role. And once again, it might not even have been the specific answers. Maybe A lot of times I could imagine it being just the way that you respond, the fact that you are extremely articulate, that you're very bright, and you're not just saying, hey, that guy looks dumb, that guy looks like an
Right,
idiot,
right.
something like that. I mean, you really could express yourself and explain in real detail, what you like, what you don't like, how you would change this person, or what it would take for you to potentially, go out with that person. So I'm assuming that in many ways, it's really the way you went about doing it as opposed to even some of the specific words. Were there any other parts of the interview that you can remember that you thought was interesting?
That actually it was quite some time ago because this was before we even filmed the pilot. So it was a little over a year ago when all this was in the works. So I'm trying to remember back to exactly what went on and the different questions. I know they asked me a lot of stuff about guys and my past relationships and where they went wrong and how I would change things in the future, or if I could find the perfect man, what would he be, and stuff like that. They asked about hobbies and a lot of personal questions, a lot of very personal questions. And I think when it comes to reality show, you have to be aware that a lot of personal stuff's going to come out, and I was fully aware of that and totally okay with it in this situation.
Now, now, did you find that there was like a certain line that you wouldn't step over when it came to giving out personal information about your life?
Oh, sure. I mean, when it comes to certain things, I knew that this wasn't going to be a really trashy reality show. They let me know right from the start. It's not a show where you're going to be sleeping, where they're going to expect you to be sleeping with people or staying in the same house with the guy that you're working with and stuff like that. It was going to be more along the lines of a professional show, and that there was obviously was going to involve some romance, but they didn't want it to have a trashy angle. They had me and two other female personalities on there, and for the most part, they wanted us to get along. So I knew that it wasn't going to be one of those shows where they really dig too deep, but they did start digging when it came to personal issues with my family and some personal issues there, and I would only go so far. And I let them know that too. I let them know, hey, look, this is not something that I really want out there, and I'm not willing to, I'm willing to compromise with you. I'll go to this extent, but I'm not going to go any further. So please don't, dig any further than this. And they were respectful of that. And I don't know if that's something that most reality shows would deal with, but I think since we were, the main characters on the show, we had a little more leeway.
Now, when you were talking about first you shot a pilot and then they had to take the pilot and see if they could sell it. Would you just explain to people exactly what a pilot means?
A pilot is basically a short synopsis of the show that they're trying to create. It's more or less like a reality show. There's some reality there. Pilot is pretty much all acting. It's basically, let's say that our show was an 8-episode series. The pilot was like 6 days. So basically, in those 6 days, we do the entire show from start to finish of what we are predicting would happen and kind of the ropes around what we're trying to do. And that way, a network can say, okay, I see your idea. You've put it into action, and this is what it's about. And we'll give you more money to do X, Y, and Z, and to really carry this out. And it just
And,
gives
and
them a better idea of what you're trying to do.
sure, it's allowing people to actually see the show to see whether the network wants to pick it up or not. And
Right.
and so did they discuss finances at the very beginning, or was that not until they already said that, you got the job?
Oh, as far as what they would pay
Yeah.
me, they told me that my second time flying to LA, before the pilot was shot, they had me in a soundproof room, actually told me what the real show was, and then said, hey, are you on board with us? Are you not? What do you think? And I was like, I think this is a really cool idea. It's very different. I'm 100% on board. And that's when they sent over the contract, and that's when the amount that they were paying us, was presented, and it was a very long and detailed contract.
I'll bet. Now, at that point,
Right.
did you have a representative, or were you dealing with that on your own?
At that point, I have a representative now, thank
Right.
goodness, but at the time I didn't. And I wish that I did. However, the contract wasn't anything that screwed us over in any way, shape, or form, and we did get paid pretty well for what we were doing. But I always suggest that someone have somebody, whether it be a manager, a lawyer, look over any kind of contract when it comes to reality show or anything
Now,
for that matter.
now, do you think if you had an agent or a manager that the finances would have changed, or you think this is just what they were paying and basically, it's kind of take it or leave it?
I think when it comes to most reality shows, that it's going to be there is a standard, a set reality show pay. However, if it's a high budget reality show and they want you really bad and they are seeking you out and and you can tell that they really want you for the part, you've got a little more power, a little more a little more playing field there. But with most reality shows, like I said, there is a set reality show pay, and there's really no way around it. And if you're not willing, they can find a million other people that are. So it's for the most part set in stone. But if you have a manager, and like I said, they're really seeking you out, then you have more leeway there.
And so how much time did you actually have to commit to shooting the pilot and, the full eight episodes?
The pilot was a consecutive 6 days, and we were filming for anywhere from like 15 to 18 hours a day, closer to 18 hours a day, I would say.
You were
So it
shooting
was,
18 hours a day for six
we were,
consecutive days.
and the actual show was pretty much like that as well. They want to, the people that are doing these things, the producers, directors, and stuff like that, they're very, very busy people, and they're paying people by the hour, by the day, and whatnot. And the longer it takes them to film something, I mean, if they put that into 3 weeks, then that's 2 other weeks that they wouldn't have gotten other projects done with. So they're on a time limit, and everything when it comes to TV is very much so into that crunch time, I've learned.
Wow. So then to get the entire eight episodes, how long was that?
That was pretty similar. That would range anywhere from 15 to 18 hours a day as well. Now we would work 6 days on, 1 day off, 6 days on, 1 day off, and it wasn't 24-hour filming for us females. Now the guys in the house were being filmed pretty much 24 hours a day, even while they were sleeping. So yeah, it was intense. It was certainly intense for them. A lot easier for us. We were staying in a hotel room. So we would go back to our hotel, and when we're back there, that's the end of our day, and we're able to relax for a little bit. But yeah, anywhere from 15 to 18 hours a day for about 2 months straight. It was a lot of filming.
It was 2 months.
It was close to 2 months.
And did so all the people, because there were a lot of guys involved along with the three women. So all of those people were working for 2 months?
Not all of us. It was an elimination show, so we would eliminate three
Oh, that's
guys
true.
every other week, right? So the guys were being counted down as the time went on. So they had it easy. No, actually, it is.
And did people, I mean, did you find that you stayed in touch with any of the people that you worked with?
Oh, absolutely. Me and the other two girls keep in touch, and all the guys from the show were pretty much all on a Facebook chat room. So, from time to time, I mean, right when the show was starting to air, we were all constantly in communication, typing away all the time, as the show was airing, as we saw commercials, like, what did you guys think? And, at the time, obviously, whenever the show was said and done, the guys knew what the show was about, but some of them had gotten eliminated and still thought they were on one show and it was really another show. So that was really exciting to hear what they had to say afterwards. They were all really cool sports about it, and I've hung out with quite a few of them since then, and so it's been really cool. I've definitely made
And
some
did
friendships.
did you have to do promotional work for the show as well?
Yes, they encouraged us to do a lot of tweeting. I didn't have a Twitter before the show. I do now, and they encouraged us to, get on board with that and tweet the fans and really become involved, and we all did. And, every single person in the show was really good about that, and the fans loved it. They absolutely loved it. So we did
So you
that,
were getting
and
lots of emails and tweets from people asking questions?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And VH1 would tweet out to us, from their Twitter. And yeah, it drove some traffic through and made the fans feel like, hey, we can actually reach them now and ask them questions on what was going on, and so it's pretty cool. I think they
Well,
really
and also
enjoyed
have
that.
contact with the stars of the show, which is, I mean, that's
Right,
pretty amazing.
right,
Hey, Rachel,
right.
I want to make sure that I can get to the questions that are kind of flying in here. So
Sure.
let me go to some of the questions that we have. Um, this is interesting. This is from Gail in Tampa. And Gail wants to know, did you find that doing a reality show, uh, in general, like, do they open or close doors for you in the industry?
I think they open some doors and they potentially close others. I think with reality shows are really good for hosting gigs. It depends what you're doing on the reality show and how the reality show is viewed. I mean, if it's a really trashy reality show, it's probably going to hurt you in other areas. But typically, I think it's a little bit tough for people who want to become well-known actors to do a lot of reality shows or have that stigma of only doing reality shows. So it can potentially hurt you, and like I said, it can potentially enhance your career. I've gotten a lot of opportunities since then, and I'm actually in the works right now with other producers talking about other shows that are not reality shows. So for me, it helped me.
Well, I guess it also it's the way that you present yourself on the show as well. And I mean, without a doubt, I mean, you presented yourself just in the way that they described you. In the the type of personality that they were looking for. You were very honest. You were very strong. You were passionate. You were um, just very sensitive to the whole situation. And so you presented yourself just really as a wonderful human being. So I could see why that would translate and potentially, open up a lot of other doors for you as well.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you.
Ah, you're welcome. So here's a question from Jean in the UK. She wants to know, are you actually given any lines to memorize or told what types of characters to play, or do you just play yourself?
I'll be 100% honest with you here. I know, they did want a lot of reality to be there. But they are trying to put on a show. So some things were guided. Sometimes we'd sit in a room and they'd be like, okay, well, ladies, I want you. Excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. Ladies, I want you to talk and focus on this, or things were more or less guided, and some things, because we had to let the guys know, all right, today we're doing speed dating, this and that and the other. Those parts were 100% scripted, but they were just pretty much explaining what was going on to the viewers and to the guys about what we're doing today. So,
Well,
so some things were slightly scripted and some things were a little bit guided, but a lot of it was just us being ourselves.
Well, I guess it's kind of like working with some directors where, you're told, like, here's the scene. This is what I need to have happen, and do it. And
Yep.
there are some shows like that. There are some films where people, the actors have a lot of flexibility and they're just kind of given the parameters and they're allowed to, improvise. Hey, we've got a question from Alice, and actually Alice is in Dallas, and she wants to know, are there any recommendations or suggestions for others who want to get onto a reality show?
Most people that are casting for a reality show are looking for strong personalities, whether it be one way or another. So someone that really stands out. They definitely want people who are different, and this is for all reality shows that I know of and the producers that I've talked to and stuff like that. They want people who are really going to stand out, not that are over the top and it looks like they're acting stand out, but somebody who's really going to come across at least as being natural but different, very different at the same time, if that makes any sense. So, you certainly have to have a lot of available time, and like I was saying earlier, if they say, hey, in 2 hours we need to Skype with you, if you can't do that and you're like, oh, I can't today, and that's not going to look good to any producer, because there's a lot of other people that are wanting to do those things and that will make that time. So certainly suggest, being yourself, because reality does have a lot to do with them wanting you for you just being yourself, and that, hopefully you have a uniqueness to you that catches their eye and being available.
Yeah, and and I think, in a lot of ways, that's the same thing that holds true for anything that you want to do in the arts. And you've got to be yourself, because if you just try to copy other people who've had success, it's like those people are already out there. People are already interested in seeing those people. So you really have to find out what is unique about yourself. And that's what you want to present to the world. I've got time for one more question. Oh, actually, there are two, because the other one was interesting as well. This is from Maynard in Alabama, and he wants to know if you would have done anything differently now, if you had the chance to go back and do it again on the show.
I would not do anything different. I think it played out 100%, well. I knew what my personal boundaries were, what I would be willing to do and what I wouldn't be willing to do. And I think going in with that, I don't have any regrets. Everything panned out very well. A lot of things naturally happened that I didn't expect to happen, but they turned out to be really good things and enhanced the show. And I'm really happy about that, and the way that all the Skype interviews, the way that everything led to the entire show. I'm very happy with that, and wouldn't change a thing.
Okay, and the very last question, this is from Jill in Atlanta, and she says, I have to know, are you still with Ryan, your Mr. Right?
Now, that is a question I get asked all the time, every single day. I get tons of messages on Facebook, on Twitter. Ryan and I actually lasted for a little while, believe it or not, but we're both very, very busy people, and him living in Atlanta, me living in Massachusetts, the distance thing gets a little bit tough, and we still keep in touch, and we're buddies, we're good friends, but it was one of those things that was kind of tough, you know what I mean, like finding time to connect, and the long distance thing. We flew to see each other quite a few times after the show, and we spent New Year's together, and we had a lot of fun. And like I said, we've become really good friends, but relationship-wise, the distance got a bit tough.
Well, maybe since Jill is also in Atlanta, maybe she was just checking in to find out if he's
Yeah,
available. So maybe that's a nice way of
that
doing
could
it.
be. Right, right.
So, hey, I just wanted to find out if you could let people know if they want to find out more about you, projects that you have coming up. What's the best way to learn more about you and get a hold of you?
Well, you can find everything that I'm doing on rachelseeker.com. On there, you'll find links to my Twitter, my Facebook fan page, and you can always see pictures of me on Instagram if you look up Rach Seeker. I'm on there. I'm usually posting a picture or two every day on what I'm doing, whether it be a radio show that I was on or some type of interview or whatnot. But yeah, I'm always keeping people updated, and rachelseeker.com, that's where you can find links to everything else I'm associated with.
And that's Seeker, just to make sure
That's
everybody
correct.
gets that. Well, Rachel, listen, I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today and sharing your experiences of being on a reality show. I just want to wish you the best of luck with everything that you do, and hopefully we'll talk again real soon.
Thank you so much, Aaron. I was happy to be here with you.
Great. And for those of you who have additional questions, you can send them in. I'm going to be sticking around even after the summit is done. I'll continue to answer questions for you. And we're going to take just a couple of minute break here, and then we'll be right back. So thanks again, Rachel. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.